there, my name is Stephanie Park, and this is my reflection video for the I'm an Experimenter activity, which is the last activity in the Experimenter module that is part of the Ontario Extend program. Okay, so here are some of the questions that I'm going to reflect on and answer throughout the video. Okay, so here is the first experimenter activity that I chose, and that was the Padlet activity. I chose this because I have a little bit of experience with Padlet before with some course developments, but I wanted to use this in respect to my own work and wanted to gather some feedback. So I'm going to share it with you next, and you'll learn more about it then. Okay, so here is my Padlet. I wanted to give you a closer look. You'll see I added a title, Remote Teaching a Year in Review, a little subtitle. I also added an icon just for fun. You don't have to. I chose the shelf format, which allows you to kind of put these headings at the top of the columns, and then people make their posts underneath those headings. So I put in 5 sort of writing prompts asking people to share about their experiences this last year, the good, the bad, new skills, strategies to help get them through the hard days, and a highlight. So lots of participation so far. A couple other cool things that I added was the like feature and the comment feature, which I've never used before in Padlet, but I think they are great features to include if you want to encourage discussion and participation, interactivity, and just to build community. I would highly recommend turning those on. And if you're watching this video and want to contribute to this Padlet, that would be amazing. I'd love to hear what you have to share. And yeah, so that is my Padlet, and I will continue to use Padlets in my work. And yeah, I encourage you to as well. Okay, so the second experimenter activity I chose was the GIFs one. And I chose this because I love GIFs. I use them daily in conversations with my coworkers. I think GIFs are great for expressing emotions and just building community and relationships. So I use them a lot. I wanted to create my own. I never had really done that before. I just share ones that are already pre-made. And so I was really looking forward to this one. It was a bit of a roller coaster, which you will learn more about next and then later on in the video. Alrighty, so here is my GIF. I don't know if you are a Schitt's Creek fan like I am, but I love Johnny Rose, and I got his help in creating this short mini Blackboard lesson. So at Trent University, our LMS is Blackboard, and one of the things that I always encourage our faculty instructors to do is to view their course through the student preview, so they really get to see what the students are going to experience. And as Johnny so kindly demonstrates for us, what the instructor sees and what the student sees can be vastly different. It doesn't always look like $1,000,000 when you click that student preview button. So I intend to send this out as a reminder to my faculty, and so that they use that student preview button. And one thing about creating this GIF is that I noticed with the looping GIFs, you have to be careful because it can get kind of confusing with the sequence. Your viewer may not know when it starts and when it ends. So that's why I did not have that the end picture at first, and then I added that in so that it would be more clear where the beginning of the video is, or the beginning of the lesson and the end of the lesson. So that's just sort of a helpful tip if you've got kind of one of these sequencing GIFs. Now, this was one of the asks in the experimenter module, and that is to try to complete at least one of the activities on a tablet or a smartphone. So I actually used my smartphone to create the GIF, but it didn't go quite smoothly. And I'll tell you about that next. Okay, so I originally tried to complete my GIF activity using my smartphone, and I have a Samsung, and there's an app, so I downloaded the app and tried to create the GIF using it and got super frustrated because it just was not easy, and I was having so much problems, couldn't figure it out, wasn't sure what I was doing wrong, And after some extensive Googling and exploring, I found out that the kind of GIF that I wanted to create could not be done on the app. So yeah, lesson learned. I did not know that. It was not made obvious, but I wanted to create a GIF out of a sequence of images. And if you want to do that, you need to use the desktop version of Giphy. The app only lets you create sticker ones. So I did create a sticker one, but it's not what I intended to do. So although it was easy to create a sticker one, I went back to my desktop to create the Schitt's Creek Blackboard mini lesson because that's what I wanted to create. So it is a great reminder for instructors and e-learning designers that when you are designing things or designing activities, to take that into consideration, since more and more students are kind of relying on mobile devices to complete their courses. So it was a frustrating, challenging, but a really important reminder. All right, we are at my third experimenter activity. I chose to go with H5P, which isn't terribly experimental of me. I've used H5P quite extensively actually, but always for course developments and for specific kind of subject matter content. So nothing that I could freely share, I guess, with others. So I wanted to use H5P in a different way, and that's sort of the experimenter approach I chose for this activity, and I will describe that a little bit more for you when I show you the H5P activity next. Here is my H5P activity that I created in the eCampus Ontario H5P studio. Part of my intention with creating this activity is that I wanted something authentic that I could use in my course developments again and again. So something less content specific and something that would be useful moving forward as well. So part of our quality assurance process is to include information for students on things like plagiarism and computer use and accommodating disabilities. So instead of just including links to the resources in the LMS, I created this H5P course presentation to sort of make them more visually appealing, make it more interactive, and also if it is part of multiple courses and there's a change, there's only the one change to make, right? I could just come into the H5P studio, make the change, and that change would be automatically updated in multiple courses instead of having to go into each course and making the change. So I thought that was a really an additional benefit as well. So, I'll click through this. There's 11 slides in total with pictures, with links. And yeah, I think it works really well. I'll be excited to hear some feedback from students. There was the video, and yeah, just some links and pictures specific to Trent as well. And then I included this on the last slide, just sort of, again, to put an element of interactivity and sort of a responsibility on the student to make sure that they didn't miss anything. So if they just check a few things, it'll say you must have missed this section, please go back through the slides again, and they can retry. And if they click them all, then you will see that they get excellent. We hope this has been helpful for you. So we'll embed this right into our LMS in a section, probably the welcome section of most courses. And I think it's going to be really helpful. And one other lesson that I learned is I uploaded a background using a template from our marketing team. So it's kind of this Trent University background. So I think it gives it a nice polished look as well. So yeah. Thanks so much. All right, so those were my 3 experimenter activities that I chose to complete, and thanks for checking them out with me. This was the kind of last reflection piece, and it said to include an example of how you would incorporate this new knowledge into a lesson plan. I crossed lesson plan out because I'm not in an official teaching role right now, so I just subbed in your work. And I will 100% be using all of these tools moving forward into my work as an e-learning designer at Trent. So Padlet, I mean, since even doing that first activity, I have made changes into a current course development that I'm working on. There's 3 Padlets in that course, and using the new features of commenting and being able to like and using that shell format has really been helpful for that instructor. I hope to make more GIFs, maybe on some sticking points for faculty. I think they'd be great, again, for mini lessons on reminders of how to do things. So hopefully I will continue to do those. They may not all be Schitt's Creek themed, we'll see. And then the H5P activity that I created for this, I will for sure be using that in multiple course developments moving forward. And that was my intention when creating that, is to be able to incorporate something that I made in more than one instance. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm excited to continue to experiment with these same tools. Alright, so there's not much left to cover in this video. I'll just be crossing my fingers over here and waiting and hoping to see this experimenter badge soon. I did want to note that making this video was the most challenging part of completing the experimenter module for me. Just recording the audio and yeah, just so many things. It was a good reminder, again, for when I'm working with faculty and telling them, don't worry about making mistakes when you're recording lectures and that kind of thing. It's a lot easier said than done, to be honest. And probably for each slide, I re-recorded the audio, multiple times, and I'm still not super happy with it, but I'm getting tired and I want to be able to complete this. So yeah, again, it was challenging and a good reminder, so thanks. And if you made it to the end of this video, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.